anyone here in the audience today is not familiar with our next speaker, Andrew Botieri, you will soon be keenly focused on him for his bravery, his message, and his optimism. Andrew's under-the-radar work for all of you is brought generously forward in his dedication to raising funds for research, in creating a fun outlet in the form of the Plymouth Walk for a Cure for Scleroderma, and in his infectious optimism in the face of challenge. Please take time to talk with Andrew during your breaks and consider the value of owning his book, A Celebration of Life, A Story of Hope, a Miracle, and the Power of Attitude. Please welcome Andrew Botieri.
Thank you, sir. Cool. Well, good morning, everybody. Yes, you can hear me. I can hear me, so you could hear me. As I like to do, using the technology that we have today, I want to do a couple selfies with you guys before we get started. So let's start over here. Everybody over the side, wave. Come on, wave. Okay. Now the middle. Up. Come on, the middle. Up. Just like always with technology, something's got to crap the bed, right? There we go. All right, middle. Yay. And now over here. Yay. Okay. You'll find yourself on Facebook later on. Okay, and here's my remote. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. Dawn, how are you? Good to see you. For those of you who do not know my story, I'll do it very briefly, seeing that my session I got to do in 3 minutes. Just kidding, doctor. And but in 1999, I was misdiagnosed, like probably many of you have been, with rheumatoid arthritis. I remember the doctor telling me, well, you're 40 years old, it's probably rheumatoid arthritis. And then at the late stages of 99, I was finally diagnosed with scleroderma. And probably like many of you, you probably looked at your doctor and went, sclero what? What the hell is this thing? At that point, I was told that it was a female disease. Of course, I had to go out and get a chick's disease, right? And then in June of 2000, after basically the doctors telling me, well, we have to just let it run its course, because back then there wasn't really, not enough research, period, but really for males, there was really not a lot of information on males. So on June 29th of 2000, I went into renal failure. I was rushed to the ER with a blood pressure of 270 over 170. I had hemorrhaging in the brain, the left ventricle of my heart collapsed, and I went into a coma. The doctors pretty much said, you know, it's up to him. They did everything that they possibly could. 28 hours later, by the grace of God and prayers from thousands of people around the country and my own sheer determination to fight, I came out of my coma. Then I had to go on dialysis. And their hope was through dialysis they could kickstart my kidney. And again, by the grace of God, by the prayers of thousands of people around the country, and my own will to never give up, I came off dialysis in 6 months. I moved back here. I was living in Arizona at the time. I moved back here, and I actually then became a patient over at BU Medical, first with Dr. Korn, rest his soul, and then after that with Dr. Sims. I kind of thought I was out of sort of any other issues. And within 16 years later, which was in 2016, I also was diagnosed with cellular interstitial lung disease. So my session this morning is really about the hope of self-advocacy. And there were really 4 pillars that I lived by then, and I continue to live by now, because as we all know, this uninvited guest that we have called scleroderma we don't know what it's going to do. Sure, we can have different, some of the stuff today is just incredible. Again, like back in 2000, there was really not a lot of information. You go on the internet, and everything was pretty much doom and gloom. But the doctors today are talking about, things that they can help now with Dr. Plott and also with Jonathan as well. Amazing stuff. Gosh, so where are things going to be 5 years, 10 years from now? And that's why being able to continue to support research is so important. But my 4 pillars, and again, we can, words are words, but I like to use acronyms because I think acronyms can really help define many of the things that we have to deal with, is really hope. And hope stands for heal thyself, optimistic, the power of prayer, and I'm not going to get up here and stand on and beat a Bible or anything like that, or thump a Bible, whatever that expression is. And then also empowerment. The first part about heal thyself. One of the things that I've learned since I first got this disease, and I also find this when I talk to other people going through medical adversity, like cancers or whatever it might be, is we have to embrace it. We actually have to wrap our arms around this damn disease and just say, okay, you're part of me now. You're living with me, I'm living with you. And I think that's probably the first part that we can help ourselves. I have a friend of mine who was in denial for almost 20 years that she had scleroderma until she had to go get a lung transplant. She just would never go to see a doctor. And her godmother is a very good friend of my family's, so she had asked me, will you call Linda and ask her to go see a doctor? She had a lung transplant. She's doing great. She's now a mentor for other people going through lung transplants, and she wrote a book recently about her experience as well. So just incredible woman, and again, strong. So we have to embrace it. The other thing we have to do is we really have to listen to our bodies. Now, before I was diagnosed with interstitial lung disease, my general practitioner, who was also my nephrologist, my kidney doctor, I was complaining about being tired, winded, and so he goes, well, let's check to see if you have any asthma issues. So I went through all these asthma tests and allergy tests and all this other stuff, and it just wasn't working. And it was almost like it was hard to diagnose. I even know, going to, Dr. Sims, they would check my, listen to my lungs, and my lungs sounded great, but I was just always fatigued and just winded. I'd climb up my stairs, and I'd get up at the top of the stoop, and I'd be like, something's wrong. So again, self-advocacy. I listened to my body. I knew something wasn't right. And I remember meeting with Dr. Sims, and I said, I think I need to do a pulmonary function test. I think I need to have a CAT scan. And then it came back that I had interstitial lung disease. So, don't ignore some of the, the issues, the pains that we have, or, things that just don't seem right. I know for men, we tend to be supermen, and we kind of ignore things like I did for many months until I finally was diagnosed with scleroderma. Now, whenever something isn't right, I'm the first to raise my hand and say, hey, something doesn't feel right. And I go in and I get checked out. So I really implore you to do that. And then also be open-minded. Sure, everything, most of the stuff being talked about today is traditional, is the medicine, traditional medicine. And gosh, where would we be without these incredible doctors who give of their time to really explore and research to find things that can help us live a little bit better with this uninvited guest. But there's also homeopathic. Everybody's going to deal with things a little bit differently. And I've known people who I met last year at the national meeting who are using some homeopathic remedies that seem to be working for them. Now, obviously, we want to stay with our traditional medicine and go see your doctor on a regular basis, but also the homeopathic. There's also Misty Rushing, who is an incredible gal that I've met a couple years ago, but she's always at the conferences. She's got a Facebook site called Functional Medicine, and on that, she has these doctors from around the country that do little podcasts about different issues dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, that deal with autoimmune diseases. And sometimes, I've listened to several of them. Sometimes things don't really apply to me, but you never know. And so and I'll have her information up as well. Reiki, we're going to be talking about yoga with Kendra later. Any of those things that help us, I don't know, when I stretch and really work at stretching, I feel so much better. You get those endorphins kind of moving around in our bodies, because some mornings it kind of sucks to get up. You're stiff, you feel achy. Some mornings I feel like I'm 35 again, and other mornings I feel like I'm 95. But it's just, again, we have to, that's our lot in life. As I say, scleroderma is the cross that I carry and I bear. And so that's why I do these things, and inspired me to write my book. Being optimistic and positive. It's easy to say. It's always, strive to have a positive attitude. I was with I chair the Plymouth Bay Cultural District down in America's hometown, and I was with a group, a couple yesterday that own an art gallery. And they said to me, "You always have a smile on your face." And I said, "What's my choice?" So again, each and every day we make choices that shape and mold our destiny. And what do you choose? Yeah, there's mornings I wake up and I'm like, damn, I'm a musician. I had to stop playing guitar because of finger ulcers. For maybe about 5 minutes, I was upset, I was mad, and I'm like, you know what? But I'm alive. The alternative sucks too. So I'll probably be about a year without playing, as I had before. But in the meantime, I'll just find something else to keep me busy. So always strive for that positive attitude. Because there's going to be times where we're going to have a little storm, we're going to have a medium-sized storm, and as we saw this past winter, we almost had like hurricanes, snow canes, or whatever they were calling those snowstorms that we had that were unbelievable. Well, we have those within us as well. And if you don't have a positive attitude, then those storms are a little bit harder to work with, to manage, and to deal with. And it's okay to have a pity party once in a while, but only invite yourself. Don't invite anybody else. This is a saying that I've had in my daytimer for probably 30 years. I had this in business when I was running companies around the country. And it was a very simple one. If it's to be, it's up to me. Yes, we have help from incredible doctors, but it's also, again, the choices that we make within ourselves. The third one, come on, there we go, also is to have a strong support, a strong partner in your life. This is Joyce and Kim. Love these people. I met them 2 years ago in New Orleans. They were on the cover of The Voice, and I was hoping to meet them prior to doing a speech that I did on the closing keynote that I did in New Orleans. And ironically, I'm sitting there in the opening keynote, and who sits right in front? I'm in the very back, because I like to people watch. So I'm sitting in the very back, and who sits right in front of me? Kim and Joyce. It was meant to be. They've now adopted me. I'm their son. So if you do get to go to Philadelphia to the national conference in July, they live in Philadelphia, so they'll be there, and they're just wonderful people. But she blushes every time I put her thing up on the stage, so don't tell her. The other part, that regardless of whatever, your religion, your spiritual thinking, or how you look at the world, there is a power to prayer. there's a power to our spiritual side. You know, we're talking about the skin and the body, but there's a spirit in us. You know, that once this body goes, that energy that we have within ourselves, that spirit that we have within ourselves, continues to live. And so, you know, they say that, you know, with attitude you can move a mountain, but I, you know, was raised Catholic. I became more spiritual, but I didn't realize the power of prayer when I was sick. I found out after I came out of my coma that I had thousands of people around the country praying for me at synagogues, at churches, at mosques. I mean, I was so overwhelming when I was told this. I cried like a baby. I just couldn't believe that people would take time to pray for me. And, you know, I've seen miracles happen. I'm considered a miracle. So never give up praying. And I think one of the first things that we do is we have to put it into God's hands, or whatever power you call him or her. But you have to put it in their hands. You know, because we can't carry this burden ourselves. So it's important that every morning I wake up, you know, I stretch and I see if my leg's going to hold up when I get up, and I say, God, thank you for another great day. And I think that's important. Ask to be healed. You know, I know with this disease that I'm a broken man, I'm a damaged man. And I ask God to heal me, to put his hands, Jesus' hands on me. Because I know that he came down to save me out of my coma. Now going on to this June will be, 18 years. Seems like it was only yesterday. So take the time to talk to God. Take the time to ask to be healed. And then again, seek support from your loved ones. There's some Facebook pages where I go through the scleroderma Facebook pages where, you know, the person living with scleroderma, the spouse sometimes, you know, is always like, well, you know, why are you always feeling sick? Or you don't look sick. How many times have you heard that? You don't look sick. But they don't realize that. So having that support system is extremely, extremely important. And then empowerment. Even before I got this illness, as part of my, as a national speaker, I always talked about people to empower themselves. Because we have the ability, as I like to say, there's people who make things happen, there's people who watch things happen, and then there's people who wonder what happened. So it's important that you empower yourself. So how do we do that? First thing is only you can control your destiny. You know, the doctors can help you to a certain point, but you have to take that initiative within yourself to sometimes, you know, fight those battles and realize that you do have the power within you to make change. Educate yourself. You know, listen to your doctors. I know, you know, when I had Dr. Korn as well as Dr. Sims, you know, and when I had my first scleroderma doctor in Scottsdale, Arizona, I went in with like 2 sheets of paper with questions. You know, if I had this disease that was going to kill me, heck, I wanted to know what the heck it was and what we could do about it. And now I go in and I still, you know, bug the hell out of Dr. Sims all the time with questions about this or questions about that. And also, you know, Dr. Theodore as well at BU Medical. Sometimes I just probably can't wait to get me out of there. But also on YouTube and also on the scleroderma Facebook pages, there's just information. The more information you have, the more power you have. The less information you have, then you're sort of wandering lost in a forest. And educate others, especially those around you, your family, your friends. All my family know that I have this, now that I have interstitial lung disease. And everybody sort of now, they will sort of back off a little bit. Like when we're walking or whatever, they'll slow down now, and versus maybe walking ahead of me. They're always like making sure, and they don't baby me because I won't let them. But I make sure that they know what I feel, what I'm going through, because it makes them have more empathy versus just, you know, sort of like saying, you know, come on, speed it up, speed it up. Well, so making sure that we educate others. And then again, ask lots of questions. Before you go to any of your appointments, sit down and just say, okay, what's new? What else do I need to talk to the doctor about? Because how many times you go in and then after you leave, if you don't write them down, the questions, how many times you leave and you're in your car driving home and you go, oh, I forgot to ask him that. So write it down. Because again, that knowledge is power. So networking for hope. Here's just some Facebook pages you can go on. These are all ones that I belong to, but the Scleroderma Angels, Project Scleroderma, Dear Scleroderma. This is the one for Misty Rushing, Scleroderma and Functional Medicine. And then here's my sweetheart, Jessica Massengale, Scleroderma Strong. Matter of fact, I got my Scleroderma Strong bracelet on today for her. And then the last one is a new one that myself and Lee Kotzker from Florida resurrected with the help of Mary Beth from the New York Upstate Tri-State Scleroderma Support Group, but it's ScleroMen. It's the first Facebook page that's for men only, because obviously, as we know, we have some issues that are different than women. So if anybody's interested, I know, where's Michael? There he is, awesome. I'll meet you in a second. But this is where you can go, sign up as a man, and we have dialogue, we have different groups and stuff like that. So that's kind of it. I mean, and the last part is just really, in closing, hope can make us fighters, survivors, role models, but also advocates. Because I want everybody here to go out and celebrate your life. Thank you very much. And if anybody is interested, I do have some books over there, and a portion of each book sale does go to the New England chapter of Jack's group. So, anyways, here you go.
Thanks, Andrew. Thank you so much. Thanks, Andrew. We just love Andrew.